documents from the TCEQ, and then to discuss a schedule for the hearing, which is like an actual trial. So that's what we're going to do today. I appreciate everyone coming out, and everyone filling out all these forms, so we can try to keep track of everything. But at this time, we'll go ahead and we'll start with the applicant, and we'll work our way this way through the people on the table, and then we'll go through people who want to be parties, so that I can make sure that we have a sheet for everybody, and then we'll take it from there. So, beginning with the applicant.
Your Honor, for Vulcan Construction Materials, LLC, Keith Courtney and Derek Seal with Winstead PC.
Okay, all right. And then, I know this is kind of not the usual order, but we'll just go in the order of the table.
Your Honor, Eric Coleman here representing Friends of Rockland Elk Creek and Stop 3009 Vulcan Quarry. Contestants, my understanding is the applicant has stipulated
Sabrina.
status for those.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Your Honor, Nicholas Park and Colleen Ford representing the executive director in this matter.
Your Honor, Pranjal Mehta for the Office of Public Interest Counsel.
Great. So do I have everybody's sheet from the protestants? Or is everybody who wants to be a part of the sheet? I don't have. Okay.
There's more coming from the hallway.
Okay. And actually, rather than going through that, we will look through these. The commission, let me also back up, I forgot to say this, I work for the State Office of Administrative Hearings. I do not work for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. So my purpose in this today is to be neutral here. Rather than go through and do all the appearances of everybody who's here right now, why don't we go ahead and admit documents, and then we'll handle party status after that. So, Mr. Seal?
Your Honor, we provided to you, the court reporter, and counsel who have announced the presence here today. We provided what we'll ask the court reporter to mark as APP1. This is the administrative record that the executive director has filed with SOAH. It includes all of the jurisdictional documents. We have pulled those jurisdictional documents out, and we'll be happy to enter that as APP2. If you would like, I'll be in the court reporter copies of APP2 if that's your preference.
Yes, I would prefer that.
Ma'am, Your
Yes.
Honor.
Okay. Are there any objections to APP1 or APP2 being admitted into evidence? Okay. APP1 and APP2 are admitted. Are there any objections to jurisdiction, which is basically my authority, or the State Office of Administrative Hearings authority to hear the case? Any objections to that? Okay, and jurisdiction is noted. So now let's turn to parties. So, Mr. Allman, you said that the Friends of Vulcan Creek and Stop 3001 and Vulcan Quarry have been stipulated to. Commission, right? Okay.
And Your Honor, for the record, Derek Seal, maybe we can kind of speed things up here a little bit. Vulcan does not object to party status for any of the parties who were named as parties by the TCEQ commissioners, provided those parties are present here today.
Okay, so those are Becky Cox, are you here? Okay, and you filled out a form?
Yes.
Okay, great. Mylan and Crew, Becky, and I'm sorry, I probably butchered that name. Okay, you're here.
Yes.
Douglas Harrison?
Yeah.
Okay. Ruby Hartman?
Yes.
Okay. Kenneth and Diane Higbee?
Yes.
Okay. Liz James?
Yes.
Craig Johnson?
Yes.
Pamela C. Shea?
Present.
Okay. Renee Wilson? Here. Okay. Smithson Valley Heritage Oaks Property Owners Association? We'll start on this side. Can people who are on this side who wanted to be parties raise their hands, please? Okay. So we'll start in the front row. Will you state your name and I will try to. Okay, and actually, I'm sorry, I'm not done for you. Can someone keep their hands up, so the mic, portable, or some, so that the recorder can hear? So, actually, why don't we, I haven't found yours yet, but will you give your address?
My address is 6027 Tower Ridge.
Yeah, can you say your name one more time, if you mind, please?
Trudy Striebel.
And Mr. Steele, do you have a sense of where that address is?
Your Honor, we're looking right now, as a practical matter, our position is that if the commissioners, have not granted a hearing request, then we're gonna object to it. We have several experts here to provide testimony as to, why folks that, were not referred by the commission, would not be an affected party. And as you know from the record, essentially the commissioners granted hearing request only within about a 1 mile radius of the proposed plan. So anybody outside that area we would object to. And maybe now's a good time to talk about alignment.
Okay.
If some of these folks that would like to be parties to the hearing will agree to align, and we can get the parties aligned, we may not object to them.
Does, and maybe we'll have to take a break in a little bit, try to work this out, but, does everyone understand what aligned means?
No.
Okay. So, being a party involves certain kinds of participation in the hearing. There's discovery requests that you can send that you also have to answer. There's filing testimony, there's showing up at the actual hearing. What alignment does is lets you still be a party, but that there is a bunch of contestants who have the same objection are all kind of pushed together so that instead of like 100 people having to respond to questions or getting sent copies of documents, one person does. So it's sort of a person kind of is a stand-in for the other parties with a similar interest. And so what Mr. Seal is saying is that rather than trying to go through and establish each individual party and then each person has to be participating in that way, that they could have one person, they could be aligned and have essentially one person be the point person, be the contact, essentially, and get copies and prepare testimony and do questions and things like that. I do know from hearing people talk that there was some interest among some of the contestants about aligning. Is that something that's sort of worth y'all trying to get together right now and figure out if there's an interest in that? Yeah.
I should probably back up and clarify.
Yes.
We Vulcan would not, whether somebody agrees to be aligned or not, past some point, if their interest is just too far away,
Okay.
we would probably go ahead and object to their party status, even if they agree to align. We just think at some point they're just too far away.
Okay, and what is that point?
I would say, and as you know, past commission decisions, 1 mile is kind of a rule of thumb. That's what the commission.
Try 5!
Okay, let's, opportunity, but you cannot interrupt, and I will have to send people out, okay?
And Your Honor, we're not suggesting that we wouldn't object to owning parties within a 1 mile radius. I think we would be willing to go out to about a 2 mile radius.
Well, there are certain principles that I do have to follow. So who here, who has not been one of the people I've named, is within, say, 2 miles? Okay. All of y'all are within 2 miles.
No.
Okay. So the people, okay, there's several people up on top too. Okay. So are you saying, given a line that you were, why don't we, how to make this work? Why don't we get the names of everybody who is within 2 miles, and can I put everyone under oath? If everyone who's saying they're within 2 miles, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. And that are y'all, yes,
I have clarification on mile.
yes,
Are we talking 2 mile, 2 mile fence?
that is a good question.
Your Honor, that would be 2 miles from the crusher itself, from the facility.
From the facility, okay. Yes,
Excuse me, ma'am, why does the applicant get to say how many miles there is when it should be TCEQ since they're the state agents?
they're
They
not,
should-
they don't get to say. They are arguing, they're making an argument, they're saying they're not gonna object to anybody within 2 miles. So I'm trying to find out who they are not going to object to. And then the people who they're not gonna object to will come in, okay? And then we'll look at, there are certain laws that I have to follow in terms of who's an affected person. So we'll look at the individuals who they are objecting to, who still want to become a party. We'll look at that after we get taken care of who they're not going to object to. Yes, sir.
And, this property is almost 2.5 miles long. To put a 1 mile radius at one end, and think people on the south end, can be voided because you're locating it by the crusher versus the property line is ludicrous.
Okay, I'm trying to find out who they're not objecting to.
But they're saying that distance from where, sir?
I'm trying to find out for the pressure, I'm trying to find out who they're agreeing to, so that then we can turn to who they're not agreeing to. But if we get everybody taken care of who they're gonna not object to, then we can turn to the people who they are objecting to. That's not necessarily, they don't get to necessarily say, I'm trying to find out who they're already not objecting to, so that we can pay attention to who they are objecting to.
Thank you.
So that we can move on. So, 2 miles from the crusher, who will raise their hands, okay, it's quite a few. All right, if we could get y'all's names,
And Your Honor, just for clarity, we would reserve our right to object unless there's alignment of the parties in the interest of the patients. I just wanted to check that.
we're just trying to find out, kind of, get everybody. So everybody on this quadrant who's within 2 miles of the crusher, and understanding that you're under, you're saying that, will you raise your right hand? Or raise your hand? Okay, and you still have that mic? Okay, can you stand up, please?
My name is Helen Lammert, representing the Zurcher Frobese Ranch. Our property is adjacent to Vulcan, and the crusher is within 2 miles.
Okay, and will you spell your last name?
Lammert.
Okay.
I'm the executor of the Zurcher Frobese estate.
And Your Honor, there's one important caveat that I've left out. Senate 709, you're not entitled to be a party to a hearing unless you submitted a comment. We're presuming that these folks that are asking to be a party submitted comments. We would object if they didn't participate in the hearing process up to this point.
We'll deal with that and then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. So, thank you, Ms. Lammer. Yes, sir. Yes.
There are people in this audience here who have moved here in this area since the law that initially applied by the children. For them to be denied status because they didn't apply as an effective person is ridiculous. They didn't know anything about this.
Right, and I'm not necessarily.
So I object
So who's the next person who is within 2 miles? There were several others, okay.
My name's Alan Hammock. I live 1.2 miles from the crusher,
Okay, and can you spell your last name too, please, sir?
Hamnack.
Okay.
Your Honor, I apologize for interrupting. Can we get addresses so we can verify where these?
We've got them here, we can take a look at the sheets. Right now, I'm just trying to make sure that we can match. Everybody who's given their name is given a sheet. Absolutely. So that we can verify that. The day is sent your own. Okay, who else over there?
My name's Charles Coons. I live on Becker Ranch on the southwest corner of this property, the quarry.
Okay, and can you spell your last name too?
Kuentz.
Okay. Some other people over there?
My name is,
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it each individual, or do we have, like if I'm representing my children and other people that live on my property, should we name all those people?
If they want to be parties, but I don't know that there's a particular advantage to having lawyers be parties if you're a party. I mean, actually, your kids can't really be a party, but in terms of your family, it's up to you. All right.
my name is Peggy Pepke. I live at 350 Sauer Road, right next door to Chuck who just spoke. I live right across the street. Their property is adjacent to the property line of Vulcan. My property, looking at the map, is about 1,000 feet from the property line of Vulcan. So I'm assuming that I'm within 2 miles. I'm within that first ring on the map that they sent out.
Okay, and I'm sorry, can you spell your last name too?
Yes, it's Pepke. It's spelled Puepppke.
Okay. Anyone else over there who's within 2 miles?
My name is Gladys Frobese Kuhn, Kuhn, and I live at 8625 FM 1863.
Anyone else over there in that section within 2 miles of the property who wants to be a part? Okay, turning to this middle section, people who are within 2 miles, who've not already been named as a party, who want to be parties. Okay. Looks kind of better.
Yes, my name is John Mooney, Mooney. I live at 245 Sauer, Saur Road. That's the naming address, but 245 Sauer Road is the physical address. And it is within 2 miles of the property.
Okay, all right.
Pardon me, my wife is Lucy.
Lucy?
Lucy.
Okay.
Mooney. Thank you.
My name is Kira Olson. I also live at 245 Sauer Road, and I am within the 2 mile radius of the quarry. I'm also speaking for my daughter, Karis Olson, and Kennedy Olson, OLSON.
Okay, thank you.
Nathan Olson, I live at the same location as these 2 individuals here.
Okay. Anybody else in that front pile?
My name is Pam C., that's Seay, representing Jolene C. Johnson of 480 C Lane. It is, 1,448 feet from the crusher. And also representing Kathy C. Lane, Lain, residing at 9165 West Highway 46. She is approximately 1.74 miles from the crusher.
James and Robbie Shipley. We own the property at 1132 and 1138 Himoff Road in Danny Oak subdivision, which is less than 2 miles from the proposed crusher located.
Okay.
My name is Larry Ewald, E-W-A-L-D. I live at 291 First Fork. And as far as I know, I'm within the 2-mile limit. I know my house is 1.25 miles from the property line.
I'm Cleo Hall, H-A-L-M, 1225 Harbin Road, but my ranch runs parallel to 3009, and the middle of my ranch, I'm less, probably 3/4 of a mile from where the quarry is.
I'm Yvonne R. Arriaga, A-R-R-E-A-G-A, and I'm representing also my husband, Jimmy R. Arriaga, and we live 1.26 miles from the crusher.
Okay. And do I have a form for you?
No.
Okay, can you maybe just put it up on the corner over there, so that way you've got your address?
Did you fill out this form? She's got it.
Yeah, just write it there, so just as long as we know we have it.
Here, you need to fill this out and give this to me.
All right,
Robert Petio, my property is directly adjacent to Vulcan Ranch on the south side. And I'm 1.2 miles from the crusher.
and will you spell your last name too?
C-A-R-R-I-L-L-O.
Just before, let me make sure there's nobody in the middle who's within the 2 miles who wants to be a party, who's not already named by the TCQ. Yes,
How close are you gonna allow us to that 2 miles? Is a 1/4 of a mile beyond it too far?
right now, I'm just dealing with who they said they're not objecting to. Mr. Seal, it's 2.25.
Your Honor, that's just, I mean, we feel like we've gone way beyond what TCQ normally grants here.
Okay, everyone needs to let him speak, okay? Much like he's gonna need to let y'all speak, you need to let him speak. Yes, sir.
Actually, my property is about 900 to 1,000 feet from the line. My home is actually 2.33.
Okay, so you have property that is within 2 miles, it's not your house?
Yes.
Okay, are you going to object to that if it's within the property but not the house?
Your Honor, and we're trying to follow past TCQ commission decisions. It's based on a property interest, so if he can demonstrate that his property is within 2 miles or so.
Then you're fine, okay, so property without house, that's fine, and can you give your name, please?
Don Everingham.
You
I'm very hard of hearing, so.
That's fine, for the court reporter, she needs somebody with a mic, because that's what feeds into her system.
I'm Don Erringham. I live at 601 Pfeiffer Road, Bulverde, Texas. What else do you need?
So,
That's
just
it?
because the other part might not have been caught as well, but your property is within 2 miles of the.
Yes,
crusher.
my home is actually located 2.33 miles from the crusher site. My northeastern boundary of my property would be about 900 to 1,000 feet in the 2-mile radius.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else whose property is within 2 miles of the crusher in this middle part who wants to be a party?
Linda Everingham.
I cannot hear you, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Linda Everingham.
Okay. And y'all filled out a form?
Yes.
Okay, great. So over on this side, anyone who's got property within 2 miles who wants to be a party? Okay, let's start with the first row and then work our way back, or back to this one, but, okay. Yes,
My
sir.
name is Ron Walton. I live approximately 2 miles from the quarry. And I reside at 1308 Bordeaux Lane in Vintage Oaks. I am also the elected public official for the Edwards Aquifer Authority for District 9, which includes all of Comal and Guadalupe County. I have many constituents are very concerned about their water wells. These water wells are in the Trinity Aquifer, which is under great stress from all the growth in the hill country, and a major concern to my constituents, who I also represent.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. On the back row, anybody else who's within 2 miles of the crusher who wants to be a party? Next row up.
I am Kyra Font. I live at 315 Kirk Lane, and our property is about 1.2 miles from the crusher. And we also moved here after the public comment period.
My name is Jane Johnson. I'm also speaking for my husband, Stephen Johnson. Our address is 31400 FM 3009. We are 0.54 miles from the quarry.
My name is Robert Nevergall, my wife Jeannie, and we live 1.6 miles from the crusher at 30268 3009.
And will you spell your last name, please?
Nevergall.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I have two parties, myself, Michelle Drake, D-R-A-K-E, and my husband, James K. Drake, D-R-A-K-E. I have a power of attorney for him. And we live at 30380 FM 3009. We are 1.59 miles from the crusher. And I have some comments I prepared that I'd like to give you that can be passed on to them.
Okay, we'll have some opportunity for that a little later. If you can put them up here, because we'll need to give copies to everybody. I can't give copies of anything that they don't get.
Okay.
So we'll do that. Maybe Bray can make some copies. Okay. Thank
Good
you.
morning, my name is Chris Hoffman, H-O-P-M-A-N-N. I live 1.36 miles from the crusher. Judge, I believe that there is quite a bit of confusion and there's reference to why we're distancing from the crusher versus the property line. Because the property line is where the explosions and the dust and the drilling, et cetera, are gonna be. Where the crystalline silica is going to be.
Okay. And right now, we're seeing what they are going to object to. And then we'll take evidence related to people who still want to be parties who are outside that line. But for right now, we're trying to make it move as smoothly as possible so we can focus on the ones that they are going to object to. But you're within the 2 miles from the crusher, so they won't object to you being in. Okay? And can you spell your last name, please?
H-O-P-M-A-N-N.
You already did that, and I'm sorry about that. So-
Thank you.
Okay. Next, anybody else? Yes.
Your Honor, my name is Ron Bigby. I'm here to represent myself and my wife Elaine. Bigby, that's B-I-G-B-E-E. I would want to ask the court that I be named affected party because 4/5 of my property lie within the 1 mile radius of this quarry. Not half, not a quarter, 4/5. Their 1 mile radius stops on the front door of my house. Now, why? I don't know. I was not affected party, but I live at 10900 State Highway 46 West, directly across the highway from Vulcan Quarry, on the downwind side 75% of the year.
Okay, and you're within the 2 miles?
Oh, yeah.
All right, anybody else within 2?
My name is Wendell Cannon, live at 30045 FM 3009. I'm representing myself and my wife Camille. We're 1.6 miles from the crusher.
Good morning. My name is Michael Bell. I'm representing Deborah Bell, my wife. We live 1.2 miles from the crusher site, and we are also directly across proposed crusher site, and we will get 75% of the wind into our home.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Charles Gerdes. I'm speaking also for my wife, Shirley. We spell our last name Gerdes. Our address is 30422 FM 3009, and we live 1.2 miles from the crusher, so we're within that 2-mile boundary.
Anybody else? Okay.
Hi, I'm Kevin Shea, and I'm here, attorney representing Donna H. Gibson Dell as trustee of the Robert P. and Shirley G. Gibson Living Trust, which owns property at 30542 FM 3009, and also Donna Holiday Gibson Dell and her husband Robert Warren Dell, who own property at 30618 FM 3009, and both properties are within a mile and a half of the crusher site.
Anybody else?
Judge, I forgot to give my address, 30323 FM 3009, Chris Hoffman, H-O-P-M-A-N-E.
Okay, great, thank you, Mr. Hoffman.
Thanks, Judge, and Bell is 111120 Imhoff Lane.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Anybody else on the first floor?
I didn't give my address either. It was Ariaga.
We're gonna need that, sorry, we need the microphone because of the park board, it's important that we have a record.
I didn't give my address either. It's Ariaga, A-R-R-E-A-G-A, Jimmy and Yvonne. It's 30662 FM 3009.
All right, anybody else on the first floor who wants to be a party, who's within the 2 miles, who's not already been named a party? Okay. Are there people on the balcony who, okay. So if we could get the mic, if someone wouldn't mind taking the microphone up there. that'd be very helpful.
Yes, you got it.
Okay. And so, yes, sir.
I don't know if the court reporter can hear me, but clarifying question,
Yes.
really for Vulcan to consider. Nobody lives within any distance of the crusher site because there's not a crusher yet. Vulcan has proposed a site of a portable crusher. And I don't know if it's a gas thing, that's it, no matter what. We're talking about people whose front doors are out by 10 feet. Is this gonna be the site no matter what, or be another hearing, or is this it?
I'll ask the people at the TCQ this, but it's my understanding that wherever the permit has it put is where it has to be, is that right?
Your Honor, there's a distance limitation from the property line where the crusher can go.
Okay.
So the proposed site of the portable crusher will be this site, or you're gonna wrap in new affected parts?
Okay, so how big is the area where it can go?
Your Honor, while they're compacting down there, they did agree to let me meet party status. My name's Doug Harrison.
Okay.
1000 Harrison Road, share a mile and a half of fence with the crusher. But
Right.
my concern that they're chewing on, so I appreciate the consideration from you and from Vulcan to add me in. My concern is that if they're saying the portable crusher can go anywhere within the quarry site, as long as it stays a certain distance from the boundary, as you've heard people say, that's a 2-mile radius of this
Right.
portable crusher and a proposed site. That's my main question.
Right.
That would make I know you're trying to be smooth, but that'll throw a wrench in your whole distance
Sure,
calculation.
yeah. Maybe we'll do this first and then we'll kind of see if there's a difference. And you, Mr. Harrison, the TCQ said you were part, right?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I might.
Yes.
The current location of the rock crusher has been subjected to air dispersion modeling, and the current TCQ permitting process, if we move the crusher, we would have to go through, or we would go through whatever permitting process is necessary through that crusher.
Okay.
So for purposes of this proceeding, the commissioners consider the specific location where the crusher has been modeled, and that's, we believe, the location So the 2 miles will be from the current location to the crusher, because if we move it, we may be subject to a different or additional permitting process. at
Okay,
TCEQ.
so you're now saying that you can't move it without going through some kind of permit amendment. And let me just check with the executive director of the TCQ to see if that is their understanding as well.
Your Honor, I believe that there would be possibilities for them to do an alteration. It may not be an amendment, but they would need to update the representations to us at the very least.
Okay, and anyone from OPIC, do you know if that's the case?
No comments.
Okay, yes.
But.
And will you identify yourself before you speak?
I'm a land use, and it's my understanding when they go to get this permit, it will no longer be a new source review, it will be just a standard, and we as populace will get no say. Witnesses, and we won't be able to say, if that's the case, we will not be able, in any form, fashion, or another, because it will be a standard permit, to object to.
To object to it.
It's going to be.
Mr. B.
Your Honor, I don't believe it would be a single permit. Now, the mechanism that they would have to alter or change the permit would depend on what exactly they would be changing. So it's hard for us to give a definitive answer because it's speculation of what exactly would be changing.
But there are, depending on the kind of permit amendment, there are, people do get hearings on major amendments. So it's sort of a question of if it's a major amendment or not, is that?
It'd be a question of what they're changing. Certain things would not require notice.
But if they move the crusher half a mile, would that be something that would trigger a major amendment?
It would depend on if they're changing where the setback requirements, that type of thing would require an amendment. But I don't believe moving it, if it's within the thing, would be something that would be subject to public notice.
Not bad at all.
I'm Kara Olson. If they do change the location of the actual crusher, then I would find it more reasonable to extend the radius around to make sure that everyone is included in the
And
project.
I'm inclined to agree with you, but let's go through and let's find out who they've absolutely agreed to first, and then we'll take the people who are within 2 miles of the entire proposed crusher, where the crusher could possibly be. But let's go through first with the 2 miles of where the crusher currently is, and then we'll see if there's anybody who's within 2 miles of where the crusher could be, see if they will object to those, and figure out who that category could be. But for right now, let's go ahead and let's continue with the 2 miles of the crusher area that Vulcan has said they will not object to, so long as they're along. So we have a microphone up top.
Yes, I'm Mike Olson, OLSON. I live at 414 Sauer Road, Bulverde. We're inside the 2 mile limit, outside the 1 mile. But our home is 300 yards from the Vulcan fence line. We share about, unfortunately, half-mile fence with them.
Okay. And you're within the 2?
Within 2,
Okay.
yes.
All right, anybody else over on that side?
I'm Terry Olson. I live at the same address, and I will speak for my mother-in-law who is standing here, Orly Frisch. She moved in with us after the original application. She did not file public comments, and I just want to address that since Vulcan addressed it. She didn't file public comments because she was on her deathbed under hospice care.
My name is Orly Frisch, and I live at 414 Sauer. And I just want to say that I have oxygen 24/7 because of environmental issues in my other house. So be careful what you allow to come near you.
And her name is spelled F-R-I-S-C-H, her last name.
Thank you.
My name is Deborah Farrar. I live at 29924 FM 3009, and I live 1.9 miles from the crusher.
Okay, and will you spell your last name, please?
F-A-R-R-A-R.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Thomas Cheney, and I'm also here for my wife Kathleen. I live at 1135 Sapling Spring, 2 miles from the quarry.
Okay.
We didn't catch I'm sorry, we didn't catch his name.
Okay, Mr. Cheney, and how do you
Fuchs, Fuchs, Carl with a K. My wife Linda. We live at 31600 FM 3009, across the street from the quarry, about 6/10 of a mile from the crusher.
Yes, sir.
My name's Michael Wilkinson, 1800 Ridge Creek Lane, and we're 2 miles from the crusher.
Okay, and will you spell your last name too?
Wilkinson.
Okay, thank you, sir.
My name is Bill Byerly, Byerly, and I'm representing my wife Linda also. Best I can tell from my topographical map here, I'm right at 2 miles, although I do not know the exact pinpoint location of the crusher. I assume it's larger than a few inches, the pinpoint. So yes, I would like to be an affected party.
Thank you, Your Honor, for hearing us. My name is Linda Martin. My husband's name is James, and he's present. We are within the 2 mile limit and would appreciate being named affected parties. 205 Kirk Lane.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Jeff Ray, last name is spelled R-E-E-H. My mailing address is 185 Prado Crossing in Bernie. I share a fence line with Doug Harrison. I'm here representing my family and myself. We've owned that property. It's been in the family since 1936. Our property line is 1.4 miles from the current location of the designated location of the crusher. I did not submit public comments previously because I had 24 operations in 2018 to save my leg.
All right, anybody else on the top row who's within 2 miles of the crusher? No, okay. So, still my understanding, Mr. Seal, that you are not going to object to any of the people who sought party status here today, who presented and gave their names, so long as they align.
And so long as they submitted a public comment and participated in the process, that's the way the law and the rule reads.
Let me just check this real quick, because I understand you can't add new issues. I'm not sure that I read it as saying you can't.
Your Honor, if I may speak to that?
Yes.
Our understanding of the 709 process is the limit on public comment does apply to the commission's granting of a hearing request.
Yes.
But certainly I've seen hearings such as that of the application by Dripping Springs, which is usually such a 709, where no inquiry was made as to the person's filed comment. It's our position that that comment required applies only at the commission level and does not apply in SOAH district attorney.
And that has been how we have been interpreting that as well. It limits the issues that can be raised, but since we have issues A through S that are already in the interim order, there probably aren't a lot of other ones. So I am going to agree with Mr. Allman and say that 709 does not limit standing of people who only file party, who only file comments.
Could I just read you one of the TCQ rules on that we believe is directly on point?
Sure.
It's 30 TAC 55203, and it's subsection C6. And one of the considerations for hearing requests on applications filed on or after September 1, 2015, which is Senate Bill 709, is whether the requester timely submitted comments on the application that were not withdrawn. And then during the comment period on the particular rulemaking, and this is 40 Texas Register 9657, in response to comments, the commissioner said that the permitting process that essentially says the legislative intent is to only allow participation by an affected party who participated in the permitting process by offering comments.
Okay, can I see the rule?
Absolutely.
And the easy lectures one?
Your Honor, we would agree that also the
way to turn up the light, please?
I am not familiar with this system of big mics, but, if I think we still have, is that microphone still upstairs?
It's down here.
It's back down here, okay. And if everybody who is speaking, will identify themselves so that the court reporter can also make sure, she knows the parties who are here with the mics, she's got a chart for them, but everybody else, so.
I'm sorry, my name is Chris Hoffman, H-O-P-M-A-N-N.
Okay.
Because I can't hear what they're saying.
Yes.
Have we said that the crusher can move around the site during the longevity of the work?
That is an issue that we're going to get to next. According to Mr. Seal, he says that they can move it within an area that would require some review by the TCEQ, but depending on where it is, it might not involve public comment. So what we're going to do is, first, he was not objecting to anyone within 2 miles of the current location of the crusher. I'm about to ask about people who are in 2 miles of the area, which it could be moved without a public comment. So we're gonna get there next, but right now I'm trying to take care of the people who are within 2 miles of the crusher current, as the permit currently set up. Yes, sir.
My name is Dr. Timothy, and I'll let this.
I'm sorry, can we get a microphone over to this?
So my name is Dr. Kenneth Higby. I've already been named an affected party. I'd like to respond to his objection.
Okay, we've already overruled this objection.
No, but this is an important piece of information.
Okay.
If one does not know about the quarry going into existence, how can one apply for affected person status? The only reason I ever found out about it, and my neighbors, is I got a phone call in my office from somebody from Vulcan by the name of Guy Upchurch. Wanted to talk to me about this quarry and so forth. And then I started asking around and nobody knew about it. They're supposed to put an ad in the paper, in the community. The ad was not in Canal County, it was in Bear County, in the San Antonio Express News. And the signs that they posted, if you were a squirrel or a rabbit, you could probably see them. And the grass was higher than some of the signs. So if people that just moved here since that permit went into effect or applied for, how did they know about it? So how can you negate these people's requests when nobody knew about it?
And I've already said that.
No, I just wanted to add.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Yes.
William Byron, I did hear the Vulcan attorney say, a few minutes ago, 2 miles or so. And I'm sure that's on the record.
Okay. So, we've got 2 miles.
How long is so?
So, given that, the people who identified themselves, and let me just go through this list one more time, and I apologize if I recall names, if I'm saying them wrong. So we've got Helen Lambert, Alan Hammock, Charles, I'm sorry, I did not get your name correct.
Charles Coons.
Coons, okay. Peggy, is it Pupke? Yes. And then, is it Gladys Coon? Is that, yes. John and Lucy Mooney, Kira Nathan Olson, is that right? Pam C.
Ma'am, we don't select our children on the list and stuff.
Okay, and those names? Go ahead.
Kennedy, K-E-N-N-E-D-Y,
Okay,
and Karis, K-A-R-I-S.
okay. Pam C, is that right? C. And then there was, Joylene, is that also C?
I'm representing Joylene C. Dodson and Kathy C. Lane.
And I'm sorry, what was the last name of Joylene?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I still can't.
Dodson, D-O-D-S-O-N.
Dodson, okay, thank you. James and Robbie Shipley, is that right? Yes. Okay, Larry Ewald, is that?
Yes, ma'am, can I add my wife Connie to that as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Leo Mullen, is that right? Yvonne Arriaga and Jimmy Arriaga, Robert Cudjoe,
is spelled E-V, is in Victor, E-R-I-N-G-H-A-M. First name Dawn, first name Linda.
Okay, I mean, sorry. Ron Walton. That was a hero font, is that right? Yes. Okay. Jane Johnson and Stephen Johnson. Robert
Never Gall.
Never Gall, okay. And then you have your wife as well.
Jeannie.
Jeannie.
Mary Jean.
Okay. Michelle and James Drake.
That would be me,
Okay.
Michelle and James Drake.
Okay. Chris Hoffman.
Chris and Martha.
Ron Bigby.
Ron and Ryan.
Okay, Ron and Mike. There. Okay. Wendell Cannon and Camille Cannon. Okay. Michael, did not get your last name. Michael, there's a Michael
Michael Bell
Bell.
and Deborah Bell.
Okay. Charles Curtis, is that right?
Yeah, and Shirley.
Okay.
Shirley.
Kevin Shea, who is representing Donna H. Gibson trustee, is that correct?
Correct.
And the name of the trust again, I'm sorry.
It's Robert. It's Robert P. and Shirley D. Gibson Living Trust.
Okay. And then you also representing Donna Holiday, is that right?
Donna Holiday, Gibson Dell, and Robert Warren Dell.
Okay. Mike Olson and Terry Olson and Orly Frisch, is that right there? Yes. Okay. Deborah Farrar. Yes. Thomas Cheney. Carl and Linda Fuchs, is that right? Yes. Michael Wilkinson. Okay. Bill and Linda Byerly, is that right? Linda Martin. And James Martin, okay. Jeff Ray. Yes.
This discussion about where the location of the crusher,
Yes.
I would like to appeal to those people who might be pretty far, but you could be closer if the crusher was in a particular place.
We're gonna get to that next. We're getting to that next. We're starting with people who are where it is right now, and then we'll move to where it's next. And then Jeff Ray. Did I leave anybody out who presented, who was not named an affected person by the TCEQ? Yes. I'm sorry. We're having a hard time hearing, so if there's mic makes it easier for the court reporter. So that we're clear we have a good representation.
My name is Ted Martin. I didn't speak up earlier simply because I didn't realize that we were talking about within a 2-mile radius. I just want to make sure that I'm also included as an affected person because we live within 1.5 miles from our home.
Of the crusher? Okay.
Of the crusher.
And what's your address?
900 Heritage Oaks.
Okay.
We were also going to be here representing the Smithton Valley Homeowners Association, and I just wanted to make sure because that falls within 1 mile.
Okay, and Smithson Valley's already been named as the.
Yeah. But I wanted to make sure that I individually, I'm accompanied by my wife Elizabeth, she's sitting right over there.
Okay, so Ted and Elizabeth Martin, is it M-A-R-T-I-N?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We hope you also listen to and hear the cries of all your disabled veterans out here, which I am one. Thank you.
Okay, so then adding Ted and Elizabeth Martin, so those people I've named will be named parties provided that they, I'm sorry.
He's also.
Okay. So had you presented before, did I miss you?
No, ma'am.
is Michael McCullough. I'm here on behalf of Comal ISD.
Okay.
We do have a future elementary school site within 3 miles of the property.
And since you didn't swear on your oath, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. So you have an elementary school planned within 2 miles of the 3 miles of the crusher. Okay. And we'll get to that one unless, are you objecting to the district?
We will object to that.
Okay, so right now what we're doing is we're going through ones that they won't object to, and then we'll turn to ones that they will object to. Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
I just want to clarify, because I was the first one, I'm supposed to list everybody, of the ranch owners, and I failed to do that, but I represent them all because I'm the executor as well as a personal owner of that property.
You did mention the ranch.
Yes, and that entails quite a few people. Do I need to list them individually?
I don't think so, unless you really want to. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to make sure that, because they're all related parties, because our ranch is adjacent to the Vulcan plant. So would you want me to list them all out? Okay, my husband Danny Lambert, our children, Jonathan Lambert, Paige Portnoy, Portnoy, Brittany Lambert. Again, my sister Gladys Coon, her husband James Coon, her son Brandon Coon, and Christopher Coon. And then her other son is Christopher Lee Coon. And then my brother Elgin Frobese, F-R-O-B-O-E-S-E. Kevin Frobese. John Frobese. And Elgin's wife Joanne. And Grant Frobese.
And will you, I forgot to ask you before, would you spell the name of the ranch, please?
What?
Will you spell the name of the ranch, just so we're sure we've got that?
Okay, Zurcher, Z-U-E-R-C-H-E-R, dash Frobese, F-R-O-B-O-E-S-E. I consider it the Zurcher Ranch. It's been in our family since 1869, 150 years.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. So everybody, yes, sir.
My wife is an affected person. Her name is Susan Coons.
Okay, Susan and, okay, so Charles and Susan. Okay. So the list of people who I read off and with the additions just now, will be named as parties, but y'all will need to align and we'll figure out how that works when we take a break. Were there, so, Mr. Seal, the area where the crusher could go, where it could be moved, has that been presented as on the documents? Will people know whether they are within 2 miles of that location?
Your Honor, this application has been processed and modeled based on a particular location, where the permit, where the rock crusher is located. According to the existing permit, there are provisions in the permit with regard to whether it can move, and there are some conditions in there. And we're looking at that right now. I'm not sure I've got a good answer for you at this point. We'll wait for what you're on.
Yes, sir.
Speak to that.
Your Honor, I've raised this point before in my objections to TCEQ, that the term portable is just as you might term it, it's portable. Subsequently, they do know, Vulcan, that this is a portable crusher, and as a result, they can move that crusher. And the 2 mile radius has to move with that crusher. Since there's no objection that can be filed by DCEQ, only permission granted to move that crusher, and there's no notification to the populace of the movement of that crusher, then it behooves Vulcan to admit that that 2 mile radius is a moving mile radius for their whole property.
And can I get you to identify your name so that the court reporter knows who is,
My name's Wendell Cannon,
and will you spell your last name?
Cannon.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I would like to, I had submitted a request for Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance to be named as an affected organization, because almost all of the designated affected parties are members of the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance, as is Friends of Dry Canal Creek.
Okay, and we'll get to that in a minute. We're trying to find out about we're trying to take it one step at a time, and then we'll kind of end up with finding there are other people who are outside of that. Mr. Seal, how long do you think it will take you to find the answer?
Can you give us a 10 or 15 minute break and we can get that? Maybe that will also give the other parties a chance to figure out how they might want to align themselves.
Yes, that sounds good. We will go ahead and we'll take a 10-minute break. If the people ones who I named can try to figure out who among themselves would like to be kind of the point person. We don't necessarily have to figure that out right now, but if we could, that would be very helpful. We can kind of help them all together. Mr. Harrison?
Yes, Doug Harrison again. One of the requests for
Yes.
you to pass along, I
Sure.
can't ask it directly, but the TCQ folks, I know they said maybe they could move it within a certain distance of the boundary. If you're in the break, they can come back and tell you definitively, as long as they're not within, what's the boundary? Is there a 600-yard wide, 300-yard wide donut around the edge of the property, and anything else is in the 4-inch barricade? But they can tell you an objective number that may make it easier for you to proceed after the break.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer that. The biggest setback is that they're in modeling, they represented a 2,118-foot setback from the property line. I believe changing that, moving it any closer than that would require an amendment, which I believe would require notice. Can we take a quick break and clarify that issue?
And everyone, the applicant will consult, the ED will consult, and if y'all two were, do I name wants to align? If anybody who is named by the TCEQ also wants to align, that would be wonderful as well. It's not required, but it does sort of help things move more smoothly, makes it a little cheaper for all y'all, because otherwise you have to send copies to everybody too. So, yes, ma'am. Yes.
My name is Sabrina Hauser. I'm the president of Friends of Black Concrete. If you all are wishing to align with us, we're going to meet out in the hallway and we're going to have a discussion about it.
Okay, great. Do y'all think like more than 10 minutes is helpful? We can go ahead and do 15 to maybe try to move the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do 15. So we'll meet back.
We're going to need probably